In the quiet flow of life, human beings often believe that happiness comes from holding on. We hold on to relationships so as not to feel lonely, hold on to success to feel worthy, hold on to money to feel safe, hold on to opinions to affirm the ego, and even hold on to painful memories because we fear that if we let go, we will lose ourselves. Few realize that it is precisely in this act of holding on that the seeds of suffering silently take root. Attachment, clinging, is not always expressed in the rough forms of greed or selfishness. Sometimes, it wears a very beautiful disguise. Love, responsibility, dreams, ideals, beliefs. We say that we love, so we cannot let go, that we sacrifice, so we deserve to demand, that we strive, so we must be recognized. But deep inside, attachment always shares the same essence: fear of loss. Fear of losing the one we love. Fear of losing the position we have attained. Fear of losing a good image of ourselves. Fear of losing control over life. The Buddha did not say that love is wrong, nor did he teach people to turn away from the world. He pointed out a truth far more subtle: when love is mixed with clinging, it gives rise to suffering. When joy becomes something we must hold on to at all costs, it begins to tremble at the slightest change. And when we place our happiness on anything impermanent, we are unknowingly signing a sentence of suffering for ourselves. Look deeply into everyday life. We feel happy when things go according to our wishes, and we suffer when they deviate from our expectations. We feel at peace when others treat us according to the image we desire, and uneasy when they change. We feel okay when the future appears certain, and panic when everything becomes unclear. Yet the nature of life has never been certainty. Everything that arises carries within it the seed of change. Every meeting contains the possibility of separation. Every achievement stands before the risk of dissolution. And yet we still try to resist this flow, to freeze life according to our will, and then wonder why our minds never find peace. Suffering does not come from change. Suffering comes from resisting change. We do not suffer because someone leaves, but because we believe they must stay. We do not suffer because of failure, but because we cling to the image that I must succeed. We do not suffer because of aging, illness, and death, but because we cling to the notion that I must remain young, healthy, and exist in this way forever. Attachment makes us live in an imagined reality, where everything must conform to our wishes, and when real reality does not match that imagination, suffering arises. The most dangerous aspect of attachment is that it operates very quietly. We rarely say, I am attached. We only feel, I cannot accept this. I cannot tolerate this. I cannot let this happen. And from these very human reactions, a weary cycle begins to form: craving, disappointment, resentment, fear, stronger clinging. The more we cling, the more we fear loss. The more we fear loss, the more we suffer. In Buddhist teachings, attachment is not only clinging to material things or people, but also clinging to the very idea of self. We cling to the story we tell about ourselves: I am this kind of person. I must be treated this way, my life should have been different. We cling to our thoughts and regard them as absolute truth. We cling to our emotions and believe they define who we are. But this self, when seen deeply, is merely a stream of ever-changing experiences, arising and passing, coming and going, with nothing fixed to hold on to. And it is precisely here that a great door opens. When we begin to see that what we are clinging to is inherently unstable, a natural question arises in the mind: if we do not hold on, will we fall into emptiness? If we let go, will life become cold and meaningless? The Buddha did not invite people into a barren emptiness. He simply pointed out that when we are no longer bound by attachment, we gain the capacity to love freely, to live fully, and to face life with profound equanimity. Letting go is not loss. Letting go is returning everything to its true nature. When we no longer demand that life conform to our will, the mind becomes light. When we no longer view others as sources of our happiness, love becomes pure. When we no longer identify our worth with success or failure, we touch a sense of stability that does not depend on conditions. This teaching is not meant to judge or deny the very human bonds of life. It is simply an invitation to look deeply. To look deeply into how we are holding on. To look deeply into the fear hidden behind every desire. And to look deeply enough to see that perhaps suffering is not an enemy, but a silent teacher, reminding us that where there is attachment, there is suffering. And where there is understanding and letting go, there begins freedom. If you listen slowly enough, deeply enough, you will realize, the peace you have been seeking for so long has never been far away. It has only been obscured by hands that are holding too tightly. To deeply understand why attachment gives rise to suffering, we must first face a truth that human beings often avoid. Everything we cling to is impermanent. No relationship is unchanging, no emotion lasts forever, no success remains fixed, and no self is permanent. Yet the human mind continually behaves as if the opposite were true. We love as though the other will never change. We dream as though the future is guaranteed to unfold exactly as planned. We believe in ourselves as though the self of today will be identical to the self 10 years from now. This fundamental misunderstanding is what turns attachment into a burden. Attachment functions like an invisible rope that binds the mind to things that are always in motion. When we say, "This is mine, this is my person, this is my only path," we are trying to frame a reality that refuses to stand still. And when that reality changes, which it inevitably will, the invisible rope tightens at once, creating pain. The more we resist, the more we struggle, the deeper the pain becomes. In everyday life, attachment reveals itself through very familiar reactions. We feel disappointed when others do not meet our expectations. We feel angry when our efforts are not recognized. We feel sad when something that once brought joy no longer does. But if we look closely, the cause does not lie in people or circumstances, but in subtle clinging, clinging to expectations, clinging to images, clinging to pleasant feelings we once had. We do not suffer because events happen, we suffer because they do not happen in the way we want. A deeper and harder to recognize form of attachment is clinging to emotions. When we are happy, we want that happiness to last forever. When we are sad, we want the feeling to disappear immediately. We constantly evaluate our experiences, this is good, that is bad, this feeling should be kept. That feeling must be avoided. It is this dividing and controlling that prevents the mind from ever resting. Emotions are merely waves passing through, but attachment turns them into chains. We are dragged along by our own inner states without even realizing it. Buddhism points out that the deepest root of all attachment is ignorance, not seeing clearly the nature of reality. We do not see clearly that all phenomena arise and pass away. We do not see clearly that happiness dependent on external conditions is always fragile. We do not see clearly that the self we try so hard to protect and embellish is, in truth, only a collection of memories, habits, thoughts, and emotions that change from moment to moment. Because we do not see, we cling. Because we cling, we suffer. When attachment governs us, we begin to live in a state of continuous tension. Even when everything seems fine, deep inside there is still a vague fear, fear of loss. Fear of losing what we have, fear of losing the sense of safety, fear of losing the meaning we have assigned to our lives. This fear is not always obvious, but it weaves itself into every decision. Every relationship, every dream. We love with control. We work with anxiety. We live, but not with true ease. A great paradox is this: the more we try to hold on to happiness, the further away we push it. When happiness becomes something to possess, it loses its natural quality. We begin to compare, measure, and fear, and those very things cloud the original joy. Like trying to grip a handful of sand, the tighter we squeeze, the more it slips through our fingers. Attachment not only fails to protect happiness, it causes it to fade more quickly. Letting go, in the Buddhist spirit, is not an act of pessimism or escape. It is a deep understanding that there is nothing we need to hold on to in order to be whole. When we no longer cling, we still love, but without possession. We still work, but without identifying our self-worth with outcomes. We still experience joy and sorrow, but without allowing them to define who we are. This letting go does not make life poorer. On the contrary, it makes it more spacious. As attachment gradually settles, a new space appears in the mind. That space allows us to see situations more clearly, respond more gently, and accept life as it is. We begin to see that instead of trying to control everything, we can learn to move alongside change. Instead of resisting impermanence, we can live in harmony with it. And in that harmony, suffering no longer has ground to take root. Understanding that attachment is the root of suffering is not the end of the path, but the beginning of a profound transformation. When the light of awareness illuminates hidden clinging, we no longer blame ourselves or life. We simply, quietly realize that all along, we have suffered not because we lacked something, but because we held on to too much. And in that moment of realization, the mind begins to lighten, very gently, yet very real. As we go deeper into the process of letting go, we gradually realize that attachment does not exist only in big things such as money, status, or love, but also hides in very small corners of our inner life. We cling to familiar habits, even when those habits no longer nourish us. We cling to old pain because it has become part of the story we tell about ourselves. We cling to roles we once embodied, the strong one, the self-sacrificing one, the righteous one, and fear that if we let go of these roles, we will no longer know who we are. It is precisely these subtle attachments that cause suffering to persist, linger, and remain difficult to recognize. There are forms of suffering that are not loud or intense, but smolder like an underground current. It is the feeling of emptiness despite having everything. It is a nameless fatigue even without overexertion. It is a fleeting sadness when a day passes normally. Such suffering often arises from attachment to the meaning we assign to life. We believe we must achieve something in order to deserve to exist. We believe life must take a certain shape to be considered right. And when reality does not reflect those beliefs, the mind begins to feel lost. Attachment also causes us to live more in the past and the future than in the present. We cling to beautiful memories to recover a feeling that has been lost, and we cling to painful memories to protect ourselves from being hurt again. We cling to the future as a promise. When we attain this, when we become that person, only then will we allow ourselves to be happy. But the present, the only place where life is truly happening, is neglected. And this drifting away from the present is itself a very deep form of suffering. Through the lens of mindfulness, we begin to see one thing clearly: attachment is always accompanied by conditions. We allow ourselves to be at peace only when things go our way. We allow ourselves to be happy only when circumstances are favorable. We allow ourselves to love only when there is no risk. But life does not operate according to the conditions of the ego. It is vast, uncertain, and constantly changing. When the mind still places conditions on peace, peace will always remain out of reach. Letting go of attachment is not a sudden act, nor is it a forced command. No one can order the heart to stop clinging. Letting go is the natural result of seeing clearly. When we truly see that clinging only brings tension, the mind naturally loosens. When we truly see that everything comes and goes according to its conditions, we no longer feel the need to force anything. Genuine letting go does not carry pain, it carries a very deep sense of relief. An important sign that attachment is gradually dissolving is a softening in the way we face life. We no longer react too quickly to praise or blame. We are no longer completely swept away by success or failure. We begin to allow things to be as they are, and allow ourselves to feel without judgment. From this, a very quiet kind of freedom appears, not loud, not dramatic, but enduring. As attachment settles, our relationships with others also change. We no longer love to fill an inner void, but love from a place of inner fullness. We no longer expect others to match our expectations, but learn to see them as human beings on their own journeys. Our presence becomes lighter. And that very lightness becomes the greatest gift we can offer others. Toward ourselves, we also become more compassionate. We no longer force ourselves to be perfect, to always be strong, to always be right. We allow ourselves to make mistakes, to be tired, to pause. Our attachment to the image of who I must be gradually dissolves, giving way to a deep acceptance. I am like this, in this moment, and that is enough. From this sense of enoughness, suffering no longer has a place to cling. Ultimately, what the teaching on attachment seeks to lead us to is not a cold or world-detached life, but a more awake and free way of living right within this world. When we are no longer bound by what we hold on to, we truly gain the capacity to live deeply, love deeply, and be fully present. And it is precisely in this non-clinging presence that an unconditional peace gradually reveals itself, not as something we attain, but as something that has always been there, simply waiting for us to let go. When we look back on the entire journey we have just traveled, we may recognize a truth that is simple yet strangely profound: suffering is not something foreign that life bestows upon us, but is often nurtured day by the way we cling. We cling to what we love, what we fear, what we believe to be mine, and even to what we think, this is who I am. Attachment does not appear noisily like an enemy. It quietly takes a seat in the mind, wears a familiar face, and gradually comes to govern our entire inner life. Yet what is remarkable is this: the very moment we begin to clearly see attachment, its power is no longer the same. The light of understanding does not need to drive away darkness, it only needs to be present, and darkness dissolves on its own. When we see that we are suffering because of clinging, rather than because life is treating us unfairly, a new door opens. That door does not lead us away from the world, but back to ourselves, in a gentler, more aware, and more honest way. Letting go is not losing. Letting go is stopping the attempt to force life to take the shape the ego desires. When we no longer demand, the mind begins to breathe. When we no longer compare, the mind begins to settle. When we no longer identify ourselves with things that are constantly changing, we touch a ground of stability that cannot be taken away. That ground does not come from having more, but from having less clinging, less fear, less holding on. On this path, we may not be able to let go of everything all at once. And that is completely natural. Attachment is formed over many years, even over many layers of psychological life, so letting go also requires time, patience, and compassion toward ourselves. What matters is not how quickly or slowly we let go, but whether we are able to see. Each time we clearly recognize a clinging, no matter how small, we take another step toward freedom. When we understand that attachment is the root of suffering, we no longer blame ourselves for having suffered. We also no longer resent life for not unfolding as we wished. We simply smile quietly, recognizing that we once held on too tightly, and that now we are learning how to open our hands. In that opening, there is a very human kind of beauty, fragile, honest, and deeply awake. If you have stayed with this sharing all the way to these final lines, perhaps something in you has also slowed down. It may be a sense of resonance, a moment of insight, or simply a feeling of being a little lighter than when you began. If any thoughts, experiences, or questions have arisen in you about attachment, letting go, or suffering, feel free to leave a comment below. Each sincere sharing is not only a response, but a continuation of awareness, for yourself and for those who are listening. And if content like this brings you stillness, depth, or a different perspective on inner life, consider subscribing to the channel to continue walking together on the path of exploring Buddhist wisdom, meditation, and inner freedom. Each time you return is not to find something new, but to remember something very old, that peace does not lie in how much we can hold on to, but in how much we are willing to let go. Walk slowly. Live with open hands. And allow life to be what it is. In that non-clinging, suffering gradually comes to rest, and a vast space of peace begins to reveal itself, quietly, yet enduring.